Welcome to this special video that I'm doing preparatory to the minister announcing the 18-month post-grad work permit extension. This is where I'm going to give you insight that you're probably not going to get anywhere else before the minister even brings forward what the whole program is going to look at. So take a look at this and we will be with you in just a second. All right, you guys. So what are we talking about today? It's this one, right? I think this is the one. No, not that one. Not that one, although that one is coming up. We are going to identify this one is the one I'm looking for. Okay. These are my top 5 things that you need to do right now to prepare for the post-grad work permit 18-month extension. So I don't know 100%, but boy, the Liberal government and Minister Fraser, they sure like to make big splashes. And so when they're trying to make big splashes, what do they try to do? Well, they try to get it on a day that's a celebratory day, that lots of people are off work, they're paying attention. And what might that day be? It's Canada Day tomorrow. So my spider sense is tingling a little bit, you guys. I'm just wondering if there might just be a little announcement tomorrow on the post-grad work permit 18-month extension. So I thought, you know what? I'm not going to wait anymore. We've waited for a long time. You guys have been suffering for a long, long time. And we're finally at a stage now where, boy, they just need to announce it. And yes, there might be issues. Why are they not doing it? Why are they not sharing more information and details? Personally, I think whoever's developing the portal, this new simplified portal, which kind of freaks me out because whenever it's simplified, there's a whole bunch of gray area and it makes it really difficult for you when you have unique situations to be able to explain or know what to do when they're asking a simple question and they expect a simple answer, but your answer is not simple, it's complex. And that's one of the problems that we run into with these simplified processes, and that's what they're trying to do. So I'm just wondering if Minister Fraser has got his hands tied waiting for the developers to finish developing this new simplified portal. And we also know next week something else is happening, don't we? We know that the rounds of invitations are going to open up again for hopefully no program specified draws. However, it's probably not going to be no program specified. Why? Well, if we flip over here and look at the screen, you can see that the Parliament of Canada, Bill C-19, received royal assent on June 23rd, 2022. This even caught me off guard. I didn't realize they were ramming it through the House so fast. Bam, first, second, third reporting stage, and then Senate here, Senate pre-study, first, second, consideration, third reading, and yes, indeed, the minister now has authority to do some pretty interesting things. So we'll see what happens with express entry. But we don't care about that right now. All we care about right now is the post-grad work permit extension. And the purpose of this video is to give you insight into what you need to do now to prepare so that you simply do not fall, well, into the wayside and lose out on your opportunity. So let's touch on this and let's drive forward. All right. As I get through this, I will definitely have time to answer questions and clarify anything that you guys need help clarifying. We'll definitely have a Q&A period at the end, but let me share right now my top 5 tips. Okay. Number 1 on the list right here, don't fall out of status. Okay. Why do I have that as number 1? Well, I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey right now. And that journey is right here. So it all starts here, this news release, which basically was done April the 22nd. And the interesting part about this new measures to address Canada's labor shortage, I talked with Minister Fraser earlier in the year. I can't remember, the end of January, beginning of February, with the Canadian Bar Association. We had actually sent a submission to him telling him, look, you've got to do something about international students. There's no CEC draws. They're running out of options. Their postgrad work permits are expiring. Minister, you have got to do something. What's today? June 30th. What's that I hear? It's crickets chirping. Chirp, 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 chirp. Okay, that is until, in this case, so we better get to the right one here. Flip this one around here until we got to this announcement. So this is the April 22nd, 2022 announcement. And if we scroll down here, he's talking about a bunch of things, blah, 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 blah. But the most important here is this one. Minister Fraser also announced today a new temporary policy that will give recent international graduates with expiring temporary status an opportunity to stay in Canada longer so they can continue to gain work experience, have a better chance at qualifying for permanent residency, starting in the summer of 2022. Okay, we are the summer, are we not, you guys? We're the summer. Former international students who are in Canada and have a post-graduation work permit expiring between January and December 2022, well, we know if we flip over here and we look at the video that I just did right here, this one, Postgrad work permit 18-month breaking news. In that one, we learn that they actually chose to move it back and allow anyone who has a postgrad work permit that expired back in September the ability to participate in this program. So it's actually September of 2021 to December 2022. Why did they choose September? Well, that was the last time they did a CEC draw. There's no coincidence there, you guys. Yes, there is a coincidence. And the coincidence is that when the draws ended, pathways to permanent residence for people with expiring work permits were no longer there. So they will qualify for an additional open work permit of up to 18 months. Now, we are exploring simplified, expeditious process for this. And this is why things have stalled out, because anytime they try to create something new, you've seen how long and painful it is and how glitchy and problem-filled it is. That's the problems. And then you can see here, this was back, when was this announced? April 22nd. And if we scroll down here, you can see details will be made available in the weeks ahead. Oh my goodness, how many weeks? How many weeks? May, June. Okay, well, weeks turned into months. So that's where we're at right now. Now, I want to show you something here. As many of you know, there was also a previous release on January the 8th where they did the exact same thing under Minister Mendicino. They opened up the 18-month work permit, postgrad work permit extension. And this is the announcement with that Minister Mendicino gave regarding this process. And you can see here, whether nurses on the front lines, founders of promising startups, international students are giving back to communities. We continue to fight against the pandemic. Their status may be temporary, but contributions of them are lasting. This new policy means that young students from abroad who have studied here can stay and find work, ensuring that Canada meets the urgent needs of our economy for today and tomorrow. Our message to international students and grads is simple. We just want you to study. We don't just want you to study here. We want you to stay here. Okay, Minister Mendicino, flash forward over a year, January the 8th to April 22nd, 2022. And what do we have? We have a repeat pretty much of that same situation. So what do we do? Well, how am I even going to, as I go back here to the top thing on the list, don't fall out of status. Why do I even say that? Why is that important now that I've set the stage? Well, the reason we have to, although no specifics have been released, I've been at this a long time, and it's pretty easy to see the direction that they're going to go. Why would they depart far from the previous one? There's no real reason to depart too far. So let's slide over here, and you and I are going to take a look at what the actual instructions are for the old program, the program delivery instructions. So this is, we kept a copy of it. Yes, we did. This is back on May 27th, 2021, when they release details. And yes, some of these things are a little bit different, but I want you to very, very carefully look at this, because this will form a large basis of the tips and strategies that I'm going to share with you today. So number one, which we've laid out here, is don't fall out of status. Here is why, you guys. Okay, so if you scroll down, who can apply? To be eligible for this open work permit, you must meet the following 5 requirements. Okay, post-grad work permit expired on or after January 30th, 2020. Well, we know that that's now going to be September of 2021 to the end of 2022. They talk about it will have to be expiring within 4 months. Maybe that's the case. Maybe they will also institute this and say, your work permit has to be expiring within 4 months. Maybe that's the case. We'll just have to see. But from what we know, it's expiring between September 20th of 2021 and December 31st of 2022. That's the range. Okay, now what are some of the issues that we have to look at here? The main one is, yes, you were in Canada, so the policy is for people that are here. So we know that's still in play, but this is it. You either have temporary resident status, okay, so your post-grad is still valid. You have a visitor record because you transitioned, and you listened to the video that Alicia and I did on this topic, and I'm going to pull you guys right back to our firm website. And if I just flip over to my web here, all you have to search for is Holthe Immigration Law. Once you pull this up, go to resources blog. And in our blogs, we have a ton of content in here, tons and tons. And if we go back, we've been trying to help you guys for a long time here. If we go back all the way to last year, you will see here that we did a video, an episode right here. Let's see if I can find it. I think I jumped past it here. I'll find the blog post. Just give me a second. I've got so much misrep. All you need to job offers. Okay. How long can I stay in Canada after my work permit expires? In this one here, Alicia, this blog post she wrote, and we have a video accompanying it as well. We started warning you back in December about the need to maintain your status. And we were getting consults and consults from people, and we continue to do it, who are running out of time, who are facing situations where their status is expiring. So if you look here, you will see very clearly that one of the categories is that you have temporary resident status. That's option 1. So if your post-grad was expiring, I sure hope that you guys have restored your status as a visitor. If you haven't done it, do it immediately if you have that ability, or you've transitioned to a visitor record or another permit that allows you to stay in Canada. In some case, some people reapplied for another study permit. But the reality is maintaining temporary resident status. That was option 1, although they recognize that there was problems last year, and those same problems exist this year. They say, or lost your temporary status, but you've already applied to restore it. So you're smart. Like I told you, you've already applied if you're in restoration period as a visitor, a student, whatever options you have available to you. That's why we do our consults. Or the final piece is you've lost your temporary status, but you'll apply to restore it at the same time as you apply for this open work permit. So what this means, you guys, as we look through these options, is that if you've fallen out of status and you're in a situation where you can no longer restore, you are in some steep doo-doo. In other words, there is a very, very strong likelihood that unless you have the ability to restore, in other words, you have lost, maybe you've lost your status, but it has not been more than 90 days, then you're okay. I think there's going to be a very strong likelihood that you're going to be okay. But if it's longer than that and you are now out of status over 90 days and they're hoping that something is going to save you, my goodness, if you haven't applied to restore to a visitor, you're going to be in trouble. Now, there may be some possibilities through the use of things such as temporary resident permits to potentially save a person from this. But boy, the one piece of advice I can give you right now is if you've fallen out of status, fix it. If you're on the verge of it, don't let yourself fall out of status. Stay in status, because that's the only way you're going to be eligible for the 18-month post-grad work permit extension. Now, Alicia hates when I call it an extension, but the reality is that's how you guys refer to it. So we'll treat it as that, even though it's a public policy. That's a one-time, which now has become a two-time. issuance of an 18-month. Okay, I'm going to get to your questions. Hang tight with that. And as the lovely people on here, I'm just going to take this and let's see if I can identify this. Okay. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. So hold off on your questions. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to number 2 on the list. Number 2 on the list here is, oh, let me just, there it is. Okay. Passport valid for at least 18 months. If your passport is not valid for 18 months, do not, when this happens, when this new program is launched, do not submit your application. Okay. Hold off until you get your new passport so that you have at least 18 months on it at the time in which you submit your application. Why do I say that? Well, let's slide right on back and I'll show you. So once again here, I'm just going to scroll down here. So once again, if you look here, it says you have a valid passport, yes. And of course, number 4 says you include your application that you're applying for an open work permit under the public policy. Well, that statement was just a reflection of the fact that you were applying through the regular GCKey, My CIC account. Theoretically, I'm assuming that the minister is going to launch this new simplified process like he talked about. So that's what the delay is. But we're going to jump to here. You have a valid passport. The work permit will be issued for up to 18 months from the date of approval or until your passport expires. Guys, I can see no world where this isn't going to be the same. Whichever comes first. So if your passport is valid for 6 months, then you will be issued an open work permit for only 6 months. To maximize the duration, make sure your passport is valid for at least 18 months from the date of approval. So what does this mean, you guys? Basically, what this means for all of you is that if your passport is anything less than 18 months and you apply for this program, you're only going to get it until the duration of that passport. So do not expect that there's going to be an option or a possibility for you to extend it. Okay. The same instructions that we see right here, how to apply. You must apply online before July 27th. Well, the reality is it's probably going to be, you have to apply before December 31st, 2022. But in here, you can see you can only get this open work permit once. It cannot be extended. This is another telltale sign that potentially the one that you guys got last time, you may not be able to go through this new one if you're running out of time. So those who are issued work permits through the previous incarnation may not be able to go through this new program for a number of reasons. One is that the requirements are that your post-grad work permit has expired within that window of time that they've given. Well, you're not on your post-grad work permit anymore because the extended one is a special one based on public policy. So I suspect that's the case. And if your passport is valid for 18 months or longer, you'll get an open work permit for 18 months. Anything less, well, that's the reality. It is not going to be a pretty sight for you guys. Okay. All right. Let's jump to the third one. The third one is do not work without authorization. Okay. The reason that I identify that one is very simple. Post-grad work permits, the conditions imposed on them are that you haven't broken the conditions of your previous stay. So if you have worked without authorization, in other words, you kept working because your work permit expired and your employer said, please, please, please keep working. You guys know this, right? Please keep working. Don't stop. We need you. We're desperate, right? Do not listen to them. The reality is if you work without authorization, when your work permit is no longer valid, that can come back to bite you. Because at the end of the day, when you're filing your application, what are you going to do? Are you going to misrepresent on your next application, which then opens you up to a potential 5-year bar? So do not work without authorization under any circumstance. And if you did, well, then we're going to have to sort it out. But you have to disclose it because the forms are going to be the same as they always have been. Let's go over and take a look at the forms, and I want to show you something. Even though the forms, let's see here, make sure I'm on the right section here. This is the application to change conditions or extend or remain in Canada as a worker. This is the one traditionally that you always used for postgrads, and you guys know it. But let's just jump, and we'll go through this as well, but let's go to the very bottom because this is what I want to show you, okay? the questions asked here, the first one are all about medical stuff. Then we jump to the second one here, and I know this is tiny, and I don't think I can really blow this up because it's just going to take over the whole page, but just trust me as I read this to you. Have you ever remained beyond the validity of your status, attended school without authorization, or worked without authorization in Canada? If you worked without authorization and you put no, that, my friends, is a misrepresentation. So if you put yes, then you're going to have to deal with it. Then it asks other questions about, have you been refused a visa or permit, denied, entry or order to leave Canada or any other country? Have you previously applied to enter or remain in Canada? Blah, blah, blah. But this is the one, 2A, that is going to be the one that's going to cause you guys significant problems if you made the decision to work without authorization. Now, there may be things that we can do to fix it. That's why we have consultations, and I recommend that you click on the link below if you find yourself in this situation and book a consult. But it's a reality, and you don't want to get yourself into that position because that's one of the disqualifiers of the program. And those creative people out there who just pretend and say, well, don't say anything, it's better, they're never going to find out. Do not listen to them. Do not. Okay? We can help you navigate through it, but it's not easy. All right. Number 4, start collecting your documents now. So what are we focusing on here? We're focusing on any document that you have that you know you're going to need to provide. And it's pretty simple. So if we go back here, let's see if I can find, I think it's on, I got to remember which page I've got it on here. Let's see if I have it here. I guess I didn't open it up. Just give me 1 second, and I'm actually going to go in very quick here, and I'm going to pull up the actual document checklist, and we're going to look at the document checklist for the post-grad work permit. And I'm just going to identify some key aspects of this that you absolutely have to pay attention to, because if your documents are not in place and then that program is announced, you could find yourself on the outside looking in. Okay, let's pull this up, and there is the document checklist. Voila. Okay, here we go. Let's slide over here and let's take a look at this. And I'm actually going to enlarge it so that you guys can see this a little bit better. We have a very, very good reason to believe that the vast majority of the documents that are requested here are going to be the same kinds of documents. Now, they may simplify, but personally, I think the simplification is because this document checklist is for a number of different types of applications. But we're going to go right here and we're going to see they reference the 5710. But then also as we go down here, you'll see they want a passport. We've talked about the importance of the passport. Photocopies of your travel document, that one doesn't apply because you've got a passport. Photocopy of your current immigration document if you have one. So this is one of the challenges, because some of you will have your current immigration document, but it won't be valid. So hopefully, no matter what stage you're at, you'll be able to prove it. So make darn sure that you've got a copy or access to, if someone's helped you or representatives help you to file an application, make sure that you have a copy of any submitted extension applications or restoration applications that you filed. You need to have those available and at your disposal. So make sure that you keep those and are available. Now, post-grad work permit applicants must also include the following. So this is something that may or may not be required because they're technically simplifying this, right? But you have to have this on you. You've already had it once. You shouldn't have any problems reproducing it, but a final transcript, okay? And a letter from the institution and or the formal notice of graduation. So those are the two things, okay? If you completed more than one program, upload the transcript and the letter from the institution of your choice in the appropriate fields. The other transcripts must be submitted in addition in the additional document field. This is all instructions if you're filing it through the online portal. And then of course, proof of payment, which you better not get wrong, which if it's simplified, it should give you automatic instructions, okay? And then that basically covers it for that section. So as you're going through here, you can see with these 4 things, there's still a lot that we don't know, but trust me, the moment the minister opens up or shares the portal, do not race to go and submit your application. Make sure that you've got your documents, you've got time. This is not the TR to PR pathway, you guys. It's not. This is going to give you time. Well, how much time? Some of you are desperate to get back to work. I hope that the simplified process means that the processing times are going to be fast for you, that they're truly going to prioritize this so that you guys are not still languishing, so that you can get back to work, that you can get yourself sorted out when the rounds of invitations start again. And you'll remember that the minister also has to sort out options for you international students. He is under the gun from cabinet to generate some form of option to transition all you hundreds of thousands of international students that are in Canada that are looking for a pathway to permanent residence. So the minister, that's his obligation. He's supposed to do that. So we'll see. Maybe he carves out something through express entry. Like I said, we know that because of the Bill C-19 now officially, flip over here, officially having been given royal assent on June 23rd, 1 week ago from today, he now has authority to be very creative with the express entry rounds of invitations. So that's the reality, you guys. When you're going through this process, you have to be prepared. And, some of this information that I'm giving you is probably not a big deal for some. Some of you have time on your post-grad work permits, or you already booked a consult with us, or you listen to wise sage advice to go on a visitor status. And I know the urgency, but please, please don't race off until you've watched the video that I'm going to do, which is a very quick walkthrough and a high level I'm going to point out at a high level some of the main considerations that you guys have to understand based on the program delivery instructions that always accompany these types of announcements. So we'll see. Maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe I'll be right back tomorrow. We just don't know. But we'll absolutely do whatever we can, at least within Healthy Immigration Law and the Canadian Immigration Institute, to give you advice that you can trust. Now, I'm going to point out one very last thing that I've already talked about, and that is what I have on my list is number 5. So I know for a fact that many of you want to do this on your own, and that is totally cool. And I will give whatever advice and direction you can. But I'm also mindful that many of you are simply not working. You don't have money to hire a representative to assist you, to make sure that things don't go off the rails. And trust me, they do, and they can. It's not the big things that I end up helping people with time and time again. It's these small little tiny things that they didn't realize that they were even supposed to pay attention to that resulted in an application getting returned. And if processing times are long and applications get returned, guess what happens? You could very well lose out on your opportunity to benefit from this. And if you can't benefit from this one-time, one-shot program, then it's happy trails. Basically, your dream of staying in Canada and becoming a permanent resident is going to be gone. So because of that, this is why I created the whole Canadian Immigration Institute. That's why I created a post-grad 18-month DIY course and masterclass that is going to get launched the moment we see what happens. And I can turn these suckers around fast, just like I did with the TR to PR pathway. And my goal is to give you everything that you need as soon as possible so that you can file your own applications. You can control them. So the course, yes, it will be a paid course, but right now you can slide over to our firm website. And here in the links in the description below, you can submit, just click on this link here to get notified when the program launches. And that program, as soon as the minister, literally, as soon as the minister makes the announcement, this cart will open, you'll get an email notification letting you know that it's open. And then the first master classes are going to start right away, maybe even that very evening or the next. We will start doing live master classes to answer people's questions and to help them get through this process safely. So all you have to do is click on the link below, and then you can click to get notified. And that is my tip number 5. And why do I do it this way? Because I can help 1,000 people at the same time without them having to pay me the $2,000 that I usually charge for work permit extensions from within Canada. And I know you guys are not working. And so the cost, we have not yet sorted out exactly what the cost is going to be, but it's not going to be nearly anywhere astronomically, probably a 1/10 of what you would normally pay. So stay tuned, pay attention. And if you have a chance, slide on over here and the links below. And this is on our Canadian Immigration Institute page. Click on Explore Courses and you can jump right down. As well, the Express Entry Masterclass, I just finished minutes before I went live here with an amazing group of people in my June class. The next one, I'm taking August and July, and I'm going fishing and I'm going camping, but I'm going to be back right off the bat August 1st to do the Express Entry course. And then Of course, the Post-Grad Extension, that will be there. And then August the 15th to the 19th will be the Spousal Sponsorship course. And you can check out the other courses that we have as well. All designed to let you guys drive your own ships, but still get the benefit of an immigration lawyer, myself, who's been at this game for years and years. I think I'm closing in on 18 or 19 now, in a way that I can amplify my message and help as many of you at a time as I possibly can. All right. Now, you guys, we're going to end the last few minutes here and we're going to answer questions. And so let's jump in and let's get to them. So Emmanuel, how are you doing? We have Anna Pow Tips Design. Thank you for everything you and your team do. You're very, very welcome. Then we've got a jerk who's posting questions on here, posting comments that I need to block for sure. Not quite sure how to get that blocked, but we'll definitely look at that. Okay, let's see here. Okay, the questions, I really need them to focus on the Postgrad 18-month. So I'll try to hit a couple questions here from some other ones, but I'll get back to you if we have time. So any questions that don't relate to the Postgrad 18-month, that's what we're focusing on today. We will leave those for another Q&A, okay? All right, so this is a question. Karan says, can I apply in this policy as I already applied on the 23rd of June for an open work permit? Okay, Karan, the whole issue, if you applied for an open work permit, what we don't know is if they're going to say your work permit, or to apply, it has to be within 4 months of expiry. That was what they put in the previous one. We don't know this time if they're just going to go straight up with, if the Postgrad work permit has expired at some point, any point from September 20th, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. I suspect if your Postgrad work permit has applied during any of those periods and you've maintained status or done something smart like you have, which is applied to, at least to maintain your status, whatever you went through, if you applied on June 23rd, I can't see any reason why you couldn't at the same time apply as well for this program if all the other parameters are met. The simple fact that you've applied for an open work permit through another program and a decision hasn't been made, I don't think, at least at this stage, unless there's something different in the program delivery instructions, I can't see, my friend, how that is going to bar you from benefiting from this 18-month program. Okay. Great question. Great question, Karan. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Igor says, hello, Mark. Do you think there's going to be a chance to those Postgrad work permit expire in November 2023? Well, I think there is. I think because, like I said, September, the minister has to figure something out or release or propose some pathway. And with Bill C-19 going through and getting royal assent on June the 23rd, the minister now has tools to help individuals like you. So yes, I think you have a very, very good shot with your Postgrad being valid until November of next year. Great question. Okay. All right, Ronak. This one is not directly related, but it's close enough. Hi, Mark. If a candidate's work permit application decision is not received and the letter states she can work until July 8th or until a decision is made, whichever is earlier, so what to do after July 8th? This one just really angers me, and I'm going to do a separate video on it, but I'll just answer it very quickly and then we'll move on. Ronak, you can freaking ignore that July 8th. It does not, it's not binding in law that that's the end of the expiry of status. It's just wrong. And I think it's horrible that IRCC is doing that. Now, why did they do it? To appease the stakeholders who wanted a more definitive time period for your status, versus it's taking IRCC an eternity and the person can keep working under maintained status until an actual decision has been made. So in your case, Ronak, that letter, you can freaking burn the stupid thing because it does not impact in any way, shape, or form on the legal ability to continue working under maintained status. The only time that comes to an end is not July 8th. It's when the freaking decision is actually made on that work permit. Okay. You can search it. It's in the IRCC website. They don't publish it like they should, but it's there and they confirm it in their program delivery instructions. And I won't show that, but that's the case, Ronak. I'm going to do a separate video on that. I just had a consult today with someone who was in that situation. Okay. And anything, I'm just going to star the ones that are not related to the Postgrad, and then we'll get back to them if we have time. Okay. Canadian Soul says, hope you're doing great. Okay, same thing for you, Canadian Soul. Your question, we're just going to focus on the 18-month. I know you wanted to get it answered in the live Q&A that we did this morning, but I'm going to hold off and just focus on the 18-month. And then once we're through that, then we'll open it up. Okay. Okay, great question, Farah. Farah says, hi, hope you are doing well. Is that possible to work if I'm on a work permit restoration application? No. The moment you fall out of status on your work permit, you cannot continue working. You must stop. While you wait for the restoration application to go through, you cannot work until you get that work permit approved. If you have applied to extend your stay, you benefit from maintained status as long as you've done it before your current permit expires. So if you submitted the application before the current work permit expires, you can continue to work, but not if it's expired and then you restore. Okay, zipping through here. Okay, Emmanuel says, talking about having enough time. Do you see us having enough time to process and submit, or getting a rude surprise that only a certain number is needed and as such it's going to have a deadline? I do not see it playing out like the TR to PR pathway, not at all. There's no caps on this. It's going to be open just like the previous one, but please, please, you guys, be careful. There are so many parts within this that can trip people up. And like I said, those things, and those that are jumping on a little bit late, I have my top 5 things. And actually, let's go to this screen. Don't fall out of status. Make sure your passport's valid for 18 months. Do not work without authorization. Start collecting your documents now and subscribe to the course. So there's the top 5 if you missed it. Okay, zipping through here next. All right, let's see. Okay. Okay, let's try Sangini here. My work permit expired in December 2021. I had filed for an extension to main status, no decision yet. CRS 465. So with the new policy of post-grad work permit extension, will my work experience after December 21st count? Okay, so this is a different question. Anytime you file to extend your stay and you benefit from maintained status, in other words, you file a work permit extension application, if you continue working, which you can absolutely continue to count that as Canadian work experience as long as you're in that valid status. So yes, you can. Now, I'm not sure what type of work permit application you would have submitted. I've warned you guys about submitting that frivolous one where you don't have a hope of getting it actually approved, but you just file it in order to stay in status. There are strategies, and Alicia and I talked about that, to do it more legitimately than filing that it's almost like a fake application, you know? Anyways, we'll leave it at that. Okay. Okay. Vinod says, can I apply for this? I haven't received my initial work permit. It's in process from the past 22 months. And recently I got a favorable decision in misrepresentation on April 6, 2022. Vinod, this is only for people who are in Canada, graduates, international graduates who have post-grad work permits that have expired or are expiring within that time frame that I talked about, which is September the 20th, I think, till December the 31st, 2022. So September 20th, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Okay. Nioka says, hey, Mark, thanks for the update. My post-grad work permit expired on April the 15th. I've applied for visitor records, but I'm still waiting for a response. Am I still in status? Not sure. Yes, you've done exactly what you need to do. And let's see if I have something for you. Yes, I do. I have applause. Good for you. You've done exactly what you need to do. When your status is expiring, you apply to extend your stay as a visitor. That's the best thing that you can do at this stage if you have no work permit options. Some people choose to get a study permit, and that's fine. If that's the option, you want to keep doing it. You're just paying all those awful tuition fees, right? And you can't get another post-grad work permit, but you have to maintain status, and that's what you've done, and you are still in status if you submitted that application. Before then you're in maintained status. April the 15th, May, June, July 15th is 90 days. So even if you filed that recently and you're restoring status, you're okay. You're still okay to remain. All right. CTR says, hello, Mark. Once I get my post-grad work permit extension, can I use that to apply for a spousal open work permit for my spouse? Yeah, there's no restrictions on that, you guys. If you have a valid work permit and you're working in a skilled occupation, then that C41 accompanying a foreign worker, you can get that spousal open work permit. You can apply for your spouse. Yes, it is possible. Okay. All right. Bright says, I think you are responding to Nicola. Thank you. You are on maintain status. You're good. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Ronak says, thanks a ton, Mark. Much appreciated and such a sigh of relief. If I'm only giving sighs of relief to people, then this is all worth it. Okay. We'll go a couple more here. Okay, let's see. And like I said, I'm only going to get through a few I'm going to try to get through these ones about people that are actually related to this. Okay. Vinod says, how much do you charge for a writ of mandamus or mandamus? Well, we absolutely do that. And what we do when it comes to that is we look at the situation. We try to figure out first, before we quote a fee, exactly what the circumstances are. And I know, yes, Vinod, Cedric he's actually in the process of sending one, and it's a phased approach. So sometimes we send a letter and then it gets a response and we don't have to do it. Other times we have to actually formally go through the process of submitting it. Absolutely we can do that. I recommend that you slide over to the website. I think you guys have probably seen this 100 times already, but just go to Holthe Immigration Law, speak to a lawyer. And then in this case, Cedric is our man for mandamus applications. He was a former government RPD officer, and he's been a lawyer for a number of years, and he's the guy that's driving our judicial reviews. And we could probably throw mandamus on there, but it's all kind of a part of the whole visa issue here. So there you go. So check out Cedric, click on his link and book a consult with him. All right, let's see what we have next here. Let's see here. Next question. Emmanuel says, thank you, Mark. God bless you and your team. You're very, very welcome. Okay. So yeah, Vinod, absolutely slide over there and let's talk about what we can do. 22 months is just not acceptable for an open work permit. It's not. Okay. Kieran says, sorry, Mark, missed your suggestion to me. So can I apply again in a new policy as I applied open work permit to maintain my status? I don't know what kind of open work permit you submitted, Kieran, but the reality is, generally speaking, there's no barrier just because you submitted a different kind of work permit. If you meet the parameters, whatever Minister Fraser actually lays down in terms of the requirements to apply, just because you've submitted another one through a different program doesn't mean that you can't withdraw that one and submit this one. It depends on a lot of factors, and I highly recommend that you book a consult, Karen, so we can sort this out. But ultimately, status, you need to maintain that, and you need to make sure that you're eligible, and that by, leaving the other one processing or whatever it might be, it's not going to somehow disrupt what you have now. There's a lot of different things at play. That first work permit could be nearing approval, and maybe the minister does come back and say, if your work permit's expiring within 4 months, you can apply, but if it's longer than 4 months, you can't. Maybe they say that. I don't think that's going to be the case because they've actually set September 20th, 21 to December 31st, 2022 as the parameters. Okay. Nyoka, you are very, very welcome. Okay. I will jump in and I will answer some random questions to wrap it off. And then I'm going to shut things down because tomorrow is Canada Day. Okay. The Big Dipper says, hey, Mark, I have a question. I had a departure notice in 1991. I left, but did not submit my documents to the immigration when I was leaving. Now I'm a resident of the United States. Can I visit Canada? Departure notice is very likely. Well, it depends. Like that's a long time ago, 91. Book a consult, my friend. We need to sort that out and get your record to see exactly what happened. Deportation orders carried with them bans, basically, where you have to request an authorization to return to Canada. You need permission from the minister to do it. I'd have to see the legislation. I was actually working on the border as an immigration officer in 1992 when the legislation changed to the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act. Yes, that's how long I've been at this. So 1991, before that was under the old Immigration Act. So we need to see what the parameters are to see exactly what the effect of that departure notice was and how it plays out to today. So often those things can cause problems, but we'll just have to see how it plays out. Okay. All right. Now to Canadian Soul. I received pre-arrival letter from IRCC. Please tell me, is it a good or what is it? Of course it is. And make sure you access those free resources. So this is a sign, this is a sign that they're getting near completing the processing of your application. So make sure you access those free settlement resources that they make available before you depart for Canada. Log in, register, get the tips and strategies from those organizations. My tax dollars are paying for them. Those funding is coming from IRCC for those organizations. So please, please use it, Canadian Soul. Okay. Igor says, do I need to have a year of experience to create an express entry profile? Yeah, at a minimum you do, both for the CEC and for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. That's what you need. All right. Okay. Net Valerio says, hey, Mark, I just want to ask regarding my son's student visa. We applied last year, July till now. It's not coming. My son is in the Philippines. Immigration consultant. Is it possible to cancel that? Yeah, you can cancel whatever you want. And I recommend, Valerio, that you actually book a consult so we can sort through this. These things happen. Do you even know that that consultant did it properly and didn't get a refusal and just never told you? Like, oh, I've seen horrible things out there. So book a consult. We can help you to kind of sort through that. Okay. Shivam says, hey, Mark, I'm hoping you can help me. If a CEC candidate has continuous Canadian work experience for 50 weeks, but is short by 2 weeks as this person was on unpaid vacation, can this be considered as 1 year work experience? No. If you didn't make that cut, like paid vacation is fine. Unpaid is a gap, and you need that 52 weeks. You need the full year, even if you've accumulated the 1,560 weeks. And lots of people, when they submit their profiles, know that the government rounds up. But in your reference letter and your pay stubs and everything, you have to show your start date. And ultimately, you have to be honest. And if some people will also try to conceal it and just not say anything about an unpaid vacation. But you have to be very, very careful. You know, ultimately, if you have no other choice and you take a run at it, you can, knowing that if the officer discounts it, then your express entry application could be rejected. But yeah, in those circumstances, you're right up against it. And if you have not worked the full year, and I'm sure there's other aspects here to this more than you're saying here, there's a significant likelihood that an officer is well within their grounds to refuse for not meeting the minimum 1 year. Okay. And remember, continuous is not the factor. So I don't want you to confuse. CEC candidate has continuous Canadian work experience for 50 weeks, but is short by 2 weeks. Well, the reality is continuous isn't at play here. It's only for the Federal Skilled Worker Program does it need to be continuous. So if you took 2 weeks off, but yet you actually worked longer, past, then it doesn't matter if there's that little break. You're fine. All right. Okay. I think we're going to wrap it up with that, you guys. I think we've got most of the questions answered here. Thank you, Karan. Great to have you here. And thank you, Igor, as well. And looks like we have Pepper here. One last question. We'll wrap it up with Pepper. And Pepper says, I applied for a work permit extension since I was waiting for my TR to PR pathway to be processed, but I was denied. Do I think I'm still under maintained status for the pending work permit application? So I applied for a work permit extension since I was waiting for my TR to PR to be processed, but I was denied. Do I think I'm still under maintained status? If it was denied, you're not under maintained status. If it was refused, you have no status. And there was possibly the ability to restore if they indicated that in the letter, but it's also possible that they told you your status is over and you must leave Canada. So once again, Pepper, huge issue. I recommend you book a consult, and all you have to do is slide over to Healthy Immigration Law, check out the main site right here. When you land here, click on Speak to a Lawyer, and off you go. All right, guys, top 5 tips just to round them up again. Let's jump back here. See if we can find this. Hide the comment. Okay, let's get to the page here. Top 5 tips. Here they are. Don't fall out of status. Your passport must be valid for at least 18 months. Don't work without authorization. Start collecting your documents now. Subscribe to my Postgrad work permit 18-month DIY. And you can easily do that by sliding right over. And let's see if we can pull it up here. Over in the links below, all you have to do is click on it. But at the Canadian Immigration Institute, when you explore the courses, it's right here. You can go in and click on this link, and then you can leave your email address and you'll get notified the moment that the course is launched. But one final last little piece, you guys, and let me just flip that off there. The last little piece that I want to share with you guys is that I don't want you to race off and file until you've listened to the announcement that I do sharing insight that I'm able to garner once we know exactly what this is going to look like. All right, I hope this was helpful for you all. Thanks again for you guys. This wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for you. All right, so Big Dipper says, I'll book a consult. Great, Canadian Soul. I'm glad I was able to answer your question. And Chris, hello, good to see you. Former alumnus of the Canadian Immigration Institute. Thanks again for the informative session, Mark. You're very, very welcome. All right, guys, take care, and we will see you later.